Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live on the Eckhart Tolle Present Moment Centered group. It is December the 9th. Welcome. We are here with our regular panel. I'm sure all the viewers are very familiar with everyone. We have Caesar, who is a channel and a medium and a spiritual teacher. Travis, who's a musician and a spiritual teacher. Hello, Travis. Louise, an author and a spiritual teacher. Hello, Louise. Welcome back. We missed you last week. And Kelly, who's our Qigong teacher and does his own level of spiritual teaching. And of course, we have Eileen. So I don't know if you'll remember 2 weeks back, we were talking about, I don't know how we got into this very pro-life kind of conversation. And this past weekend on Sunday, we watched the Conscious Manifestation Module 6, where Eckhart talks about challenges, facing challenges and letting go at the same time. In there, even he was stating that how much ever we think that we may have a belief, okay, abundance is flowing into me, I'm really abundant, but inwardly we have some kind of sabotage, kind of limiting belief, right? Like some kind of belief, then our manifestation is not going to work. So when we were talking about the pro-life, so this was back to the whole mass consciousness. What is the thread, common thread, limiting belief? And this is what I want the panel to think about, is what do you all see as like threads in mass consciousness that don't allow a person to bring about abundance, right? I'll give an example. Since we were talking about pro-life 2 weeks back, and I was explaining the spiritual reason why you wouldn't abort a fetus is because it has life, right? Within 20, 30 days, the life has taken birth. So you wouldn't abort the fetus. But what's going to happen is if you are a feminist, if you believe in like the mass consciousness of the mass thread, if you're female, especially somebody from the 60s, grown up in the 50s and 60s, you're going to be so attached to your feminism that you're going to go, no, it's women's rights. Does everybody see that conflicting, limiting belief? Right? That my wanting to stick to that limiting belief that I'm a feminist, I'm a woman, women's rights, I will not see the spiritual side of the pro-life, right? So they become like, it becomes like a crosswind. Like our limiting beliefs become a crosswind, and it becomes like an opposing thing to what we are trying to manifest. And that's why, you know, Eckhart says, how you do is the most important thing. What you do is not important. How you do is, because your intention, your emotional energy is very important, right? So I'll go one by one. If something comes up, as soon as you'll can think, I can think quite a few because I've read the book. And I have a feeling that Eckhart has read the book, The Nature of Personal Reality, because he also uses this affirmation. He says, it doesn't help to say, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. you're not going to get better and better, because there's a limiting belief that's a crosswind, right? And the crosswind is a mass consciousness. We're picking a thread from mass consciousness. It is deeply rooted in our genetic material, right? Memory of our cellular body. So Kelly, you look like you're about to want to say something, so let's get started with you. And I'll look at what Lakshmi has to say. Good evening, Lakshmi. Honor and a privilege that you're here. Thank you. Go ahead, Kelly.
So if I'm reading this right, what we're talking about is limiting belief structures in the global consciousness that would be embedded in our energy and keep us from succeeding. There are many levels to the presence of limiting belief structures in our energy fields, in our awareness, in our consciousness. You have the global one, you have the cultural, you have the family-based ones, and you have the societal-based ones. You have the regional-based ones, and you have the friends and significant other structures of limiting beliefs, where we will often adopt behaviors that limit our ability to progress through life, because we want to be accepted and we want to be loved. And we compromise ourselves for what we believe is acceptance and what we believe is love in the limiting belief system. These are all things that we have to become aware of, so that we can deconstruct them, so that we can transcend them, so that we can purge the energy from our energy field and from our awareness, the thoughts, the paradigms, the mental constructs, the projection onto ourselves of belief systems and structures that limit our ability to feel our heart space and not be constantly hijacked by our monkey mind or our ego, our fear-based ego. Limiting belief structures are what the illusion is based in. When you begin to deconstruct even one paradigm of a limited belief structure, it has a massive ripple effect, because when you begin to actually consciously step back into observation and feel the impact, the weight of that limiting belief, and what you have actually chosen and how you've actually chosen to act within that limited belief, you can then understand the impact on your life, in your personal life, and your response to that limiting belief structure, and how it has actually shaped your personality and your entire life. And when you become aware of a limited belief structure, you can begin to see all of the other connections it has to other aspects of your life. You know, maybe something about school, and maybe something about how you believe in love or acceptance, or maybe something about how you let your parents, you know, make decisions for you, or what you believe, what kind of job you should have and why. Understanding why we believe what we do and how we believe what we do, and especially the kind of mental energy and emotional attachment we have to these beliefs of who we should be. When you begin to actually look at that content, when you actually begin to understand the kind of mental projection that the limited belief system is, you begin to understand how your mind works in a limited belief system, and how it has worked to keep you in that limited belief system. Alongside this is all of the emotional content, all the emotional hooks that your monkey mind and your limited ego, fear-based programming how it will work to keep you on that linear straight line in that program. So regardless of what it is, what the belief is, if it's based in fear and judgment, anxiety, separation, any kind of judgment is separation. So the smallest belief in the validation of judgment, or anger for that matter, becomes a separation. Now there's a fine line. There's a really, really fine line. And this is something that the ego or the monkey mind uses to its benefit against us. And that is that the monkey mind, the fear-based ego mind, will parallel authentic feelings and project them into and seed our false belief system with these quote unquote authentic feelings to make us believe that we're doing the right thing. And we will have to learn how to feel the difference between falsified, projected emotions and the authentic feelings and information beneath them when we connect with our heart space. And this is why being present is so incredibly important, because the monkey mind mimics. You know, monkey see, monkey do. It is a literal thing. The monkey mind mimics what we believe we should feel and why, to convince us to stay in the limited belief system. This is why, you know, we talk about how comfortable it is to stay in our little box or a nice little, you know, shiny little house or whatever you want to call it. Limited belief systems are what the illusion is foundationally created from. This is both mental and emotional and of a spiritual energy. And we have to look at it as energy and vibration, because when we become present and we begin to observe our patterns and our behaviors and see a limited belief system and begin to deconstruct it, we are seeing it because we are actually feeling it. We are feeling that little hook inside of us that wants to pull us along into that belief system. When we stop and begin to observe, our reptilian brain, our survival brain, which is so used to those limited belief systems, because limited belief systems are all about survival. Limited belief systems are not about connection with heart space or spirit. They're all about survival and staying in that space of survival. And this is what the monkey mind or the ego mind uses to keep those belief systems alive. Is that, oh, if we do this, we're not going to survive. It's not exactly that said in so many words. It's that feeling, oh, we're going to lose control, or we're going to like not know what to do. And that's exactly the whole point. As we all know, evolution of self happens outside of our comfort zones. And that's exactly what limited belief systems are. They define our comfort zones. We know what our comfort zones feel like. So understanding where our comfort zones are is one way to define where our limited belief systems are. My 2 cents.
Thank you, Kelly. I think what I heard you say is even focus on the emotional field, because the emotional field, the anger and the resentment is the separation from our inner beingness, right? Alignment with inner beingness. So be an observer of the emotional field. The limiting belief is also creating an emotional field that will indicate, that's an indicator, right, of our separation.
Yep.
So thank you so much for that. Yeah, we were born with it. We were born with these limiting beliefs, because I've seen kids being like they'll hit, right? A 1-year-old will hit. It's like, how does a 1-year-old know how to hit if it's irritated?
Born into the illusion. The Maya is inherent in all of us.
Yes.
You know, some things are more learned than others, but yeah, I mean, the quote unquote instincts are also part of the illusion.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. And I think my deepest apologies, Eileen. I think I forgot to introduce you, where everybody, I think, actually knows you so well.
You mentioned me.
I did? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was like, It must be one of those days. So I know Lakshmi asked a question, so we'll go to her question, but we will come back to this limiting belief topic. So let's move to the question. What are the different scenarios where we can take someone else's karma? Caesar, you want to start on this? Can we take somebody else's karma?
Hello. I think you forgot to introduce yourself, Poonam. Taking somebody else's karma, I don't believe so. I don't believe we can take somebody else's karma. Perhaps if you've traveled many lifetimes, on different timelines, so somebody maybe it would resonate with you, so to speak, because my understanding is that we sometimes enter different timelines with the same people over and over again. So having said that, no, I definitely do not believe that we can carry somebody else's karma. That's my short answer and my 1 cent.
Thank you, Caesar. Travis, did you have any input on Lakshmi's question on whether we can take somebody else's karma? Thank you.
Sure. So I guess to look at it like a groove, like a wavelength, it's a frequency, somebody's karma. And so, in music, there's a term sympathetic resonance, where if there's something vibrating at a certain frequency, other things can naturally and easily sympathetically come to resonate and move with that groove. So there's a certain degree and quality of awareness that is required of us to not accidentally or unconsciously take on somebody's karma or get into that. That's their groove. So now when karma used in this way sounds, has a negative connotation, baggage, right? Accumulated baggage that could be discarded and one would be better off without it. But karma probably has about 5 different meanings. I've explored them a little bit. And so there's a lot of, karma can mean a lot of different things. So just to be playful with the definition of karma, say we're around somebody like Eckhart Tolle, for example. His karma is pretty nice to take on, if you can call that karma. One would also call that freedom from karma. So that's his karma, is freedom from karma. So that's the kind of karma you want to take on. The kind of karma that is free of baggage and helps us to put our bags down, because we're all on this train together and it's carrying our bags along with all of us. So we don't need to carry our past. We can set it down. So, but yes, there is that possibility that we can unconsciously take on and get into the groove with and resonate with certain frequencies that would be considered less desirable. Nobody would ever do that intentionally, right? So what's required is a little bit more awareness, a little bit more presence, a little bit more consciousness. And then one can go, oh, I'm not gonna take that on. So that's what I have to say to that.
Thank you, Travis. I think what Eckhart says is you can consciously suffer for another, right? You can raise your vibrational frequency that instead of entering their suffering, you're actually consciously taking their suffering and suffering for them, right? So
thank you for bringing that up, because that's very key, and I didn't go there. So thank you.
You're welcome. So it may be that you were already telepathically sending me that information. That's what came up for me when you were speaking. So the one thing about taking, and the other pointer that you're giving, Travis, is Why would I take somebody else's karma? Did I erase all my karma? First, work on ourselves, right? Because as Eileen will about to say is, you clear off some karma, more will come. It just cycles back, right? Because we can erase some of it using our presence power. We can erase some of our karma. But then as we clear some memories out, just like I was saying, this one small thing, can you erase the memory of that you're feminist, right? Can you erase the memory that you're a woman and stop fighting that role that I'm a woman, so I have to speak for women's rights? Can you erase that memory? Even that one small thing, can you do that? That's karma. That's memory written in our physical. We are born as women, right? It's like evident, like as soon as you see physically that this person is a woman, we are born already with that karma, that we are women. So thank you for that, Travis. Louise, did you want to say something about Lakshmi's question?
Well, it's kind of in line with what you all are saying. I think a lot of it is just a lot of questions, a lot of things just either disappear or appear the more presence is involved and the more that we are bringing it into our lives each day. And then those type of things, like I feel that, like, you know, abortion, for instance, like it's not an issue anymore when you're aligned, because the questions, the answers to the questions or the challenges we have seem to just appear. And has to be, you know, if it doesn't, then I think then there's resistance tied into it. And resistance is a tricky thing. You know, we feel a lot of times that, oh, no, I'm not resistant to that. But like, you know, maybe for instance, we go into our job and we don't really want to be there. So you know, we might act happy, but inside we're like, I don't want to be here. I should be doing something different. But, you know, I'm here, so I'll be happy. And so we don't even notice that as resistance, because we think, well, I'm showing up and I'm being happy. So I think a lot of times, you know, things just play out like our limiting beliefs, our resistance, and a lot of things just kind of fall away and things just play out the way that they're supposed to, in the right way.
Thank you, Louise. To that, I would say is if all resistance was removed, this life force will leave this physical form. And Sadhguru has a way of explaining it. The thing that structure that keeps this whole thing, energy body, in place is the karmic content. The karma is the structure that is holding it in place, right? If we unlocked the karma, became non-resistant, like Louise is saying, completely non-resistant, allowing what is moment to moment, this life force will leave this body. It won't remain in this body. So taking on another person's karma, did we get to the point where our life force is leaving our body, right? Thank you, Louise, for that non-resistance insight. Eileen, did you want to say something about taking on somebody else's karma?
I don't think I have anything to add. I was going to say some things that Travis said, but I don't think I have anything to add right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. So let's get back to this crosswind of limiting beliefs. Caesar and Mr. Abraham Hicks.
What were we going back to here? The conditioning of the like the beliefs?
So I feel that, and this is the question that they asked Eckhart too, right? That somebody asked 2 or 3 weeks back on the Be the Light course that um, why are people racist, or what can I do to help people? But then he said there's this collective pattern consciousness that people are just absorbing, right? So what can we absorb that is preventing us from our abundance?
Well, it starts with the conditioning of the culture or the society that you grew up in, like you were saying in regards to growing up in the 60s and what that particular belief was at that time, in particular societies. So that would be as a whole. I think the disattachment from that would be much of what Kelly was speaking on, as far as a paradigm, starting young, what we put in there into the subconscious mind early off, really determines how everything else plays out and what our beliefs become. I think the awareness of your identification with a particular belief gives you the freedom from it, ultimately. So I think it's, it boils down to awareness. And when one realizes that you have the attachment of a particular belief, you are then free from it through allowing things to be as they are, without judgment or labels, particular situations being good or bad. How do you lessen the suffering of, as a whole, like a community, the beliefs on which that they take on, to separate that from, as Kelly calls it, the monkey mind, is again the detachment of the identification with it. And that all comes through awareness, in a nutshell.
Thank you, Caesar.
Yes.
And when you say awareness, it means complete alignment with inner beingness, where there's conscious connection to source. So what is coming through is just source. Like it comes through Byron Katie, it comes through Abraham Hicks when she starts channeling, right? Esther. They are completely aligned with the non-physical aspect, and all that is coming through is words that are being spoken, which is also a separation, right? Once the word is spoken. But awesome. Thank you, Caesar. Luis, did you want to say something that you think of can you think of an example of where somebody may have a collective limiting belief that's in conflict, like a crosswind in their manifestation?
I think, I guess I'm thinking what popped into my mind was, racism, it's different from this side when you're Hispanic and, other white people are telling you stuff. So you tend to be oversensitive about it, maybe to some degree, or, feel offended, or you have all these feelings that are brought on from the way you grew up and other people in your inner circle and so forth. And I remember one time when I had first moved to California, I was walking into a grocery store and somebody said, "Oh, go back to Mexico," or something like that. And I remember feeling so offended and so hurt by it, and and also wanting to retaliate and say something back or whatever. But as I've done this work, it's I've learned, you get to a point where you have compassion for these people, because they're not conscious. of what they're doing. And so I think a lot of that, our limiting beliefs, again, comes, you know, it lessens, and we go through things as we get stronger, more connected and more grounded within ourselves. And then those limiting beliefs kind of just fall off. Like you don't feel offended anymore. You don't take things as personal. You actually, you know, hate that person for saying that. You know, you actually start to feel compassionate and love. But it does take time. Like, think a lot of times we feel like, oh, we just can drop that limiting belief, or we can drop that resistance, or, you know, I'm awake now. This, you know, I can do that. But, and that to me has been like something that I feel like people will give up a lot because they think that it should happen right away. And that's why, like, I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed, I always say, trust the process, because it happens, but it doesn't always happen on our timing or the way we think it should be or the way we want it to be. And so if we're just plugging away at being present in everything that we do, then we grow, just like we grow a muscle when we're working out. We grow, and those limiting beliefs just aren't even there anymore.
Thank you, Louise. And the way that the process works is, we had a limiting belief that we were whatever, white, brown, black. We had the limiting belief, right? We are identified in our mind with our race. The other is just showing us, by pushing our button and calling us something and showing us where our limiting belief is. The irritation is showing us the separation from alignment with inner beingness. The moment we get aligned with inner beingness, that person goes away. Nobody's saying anything, right? People are more and more accepting. That's what Louise is saying,
Exactly.
Trust the process, right? So know
Yes, exactly.
that the limiting belief actually co-created the present reality. If we were being judged, then look at ourselves, within ourselves, where we are identified by race. So thank you, Louise. Beautiful example. Kelly, you wanted to say something about Lakshmi's question, right? Please do. Thank you. And then we'll go back to the limiting belief. And actually, I think Mike has a question.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I can even tie it into the whole limiting belief thing.
Go ahead.
So Lakshmi asks whether or not we can take someone else's karma. And everyone else is, you know, I agree with what everyone else has said in terms of no. That's, you know, the short answer. The concept of karma is the way that we interact our awareness with reality, the way our awareness and our belief systems interact with reality, and the way we are either aware of it or not. And this is what creates karma, is whether or not our lack of awareness is creating repetition of a pattern. And that's basically what karma is. So we cannot do someone else's work. And that's basically what Travis, Caesar, Louise, and Eileen, Poonam, that's what you said. That's what we're all saying. However, there's also what we started to touch on collectively here is also what happens when you are more present. When you are aligned with your heart space, what you can do, and Travis loved your musical analogy, the symbiotic vibration where you can get in tune or in sync with someone else's wavelength kind of thing. So true, so true. One of the concepts in Buddhism is the Bodhisattva Vow, which is about purifying oneself enough so that that person who is doing the purification or alignment with self, alignment with heart space, and awakening to their Buddha nature or their oneness with the eternal, purifies their energy to the point where they will accelerate people's vibration just by being around them. As Travis, you were using the example of Eckhart Tolle, someone of that nature, when we're around them or energetically connected with them, just the mere presence, they don't have to say anything, just the mere presence of that person will accelerate another person's evolution. And generally what will happen is that people will get triggered. I mean, we have this on a daily basis, on a very general sense, with people, family, friends, society, culture, et cetera, mainstream media. And we have all of these influences and these things that impact our lives that cause us to either be triggered or triggered in seminal observation. And when we purify our awareness, we stop karma from happening. We stop our minds, we stop the patterns from happening, we go inside, we align with our heart. And this is also how you stop limiting belief patterns. This is also the same exact process of becoming aware of limiting belief patterns. So you cannot take someone's karma, you cannot do someone else's work for them, but you can definitely support people's work by being more present, by vibrationally, energetically purifying your awareness, purifying your practice, and building that resonance inside of you of that space of intention. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. And like Kelly said, limiting beliefs are exactly the same thing as karma, because limiting belief is the dense karmic accumulation in our energy body. It's already written at the memory level, at the energy level of the karmic body, right? So, and that's why we are discussing it, so that it comes out in the open. The more discussion we have, the more awareness grows, right? We are trying to raise the awareness about it. That's it. Let's look at the question. Mike asks, apparently we all have a non-related twin or twins somewhere in the world. I would appreciate your thoughts on this and concept behind it. Thank you. Travis, did you want to speak to it? Like real quick, answer the question, because I want to go back to the limiting belief and circle around, because Kelly and Luis have spoken. I want all of you to talk about the, go ahead, thank you.
Answer Mike's question first?
Thank you.
Okay, a short answer. I'm just gonna sit for a second here to see if it comes to me. I don't know that that's true. That we have a twin somewhere around like that. I mean, I could answer a quick playful answer to that, is that there is a twin in me that is in all of you, that you could call that it, like in I know in Hinduism they call it the Atma, or Atman, right? Is the indwelling God. So we're all twin flames in that way. There's that which is within me, that inextinguishable light, is one and the same as that inextinguishable light that is within you. So in that way, you can't look into anyone's eyes and not see yourself in the awareness of that truth. So I'll say that. But I don't know if there's a doppelganger in the way that he might mean that. I don't know if that may be true, but if it is, I don't know that it is.
Okay, did you want to talk about the limiting belief, Travis? Thank you for that response. Do you see like a mass belief that can be a conflict, a crosswind to our manifestation?
I do. Well, I wonder if, well, there are questions that come up for me. What is the, limiting belief that is most deserving of our attention? What's the most important limiting belief to see through is a question that comes up for me. Can I know if there is indeed such? And if so, what is it? Another question that comes up for me is, what is the most prevalent limiting belief? Because if no one else is seeing through it, it's not going to be very easy for me to see through it. And is that limiting belief which is most prevalent possibly the same as that limiting belief that is most deserving of our attention, that we would benefit most from seeing through to the truth? So those are the questions that come up for me. And I'll offer this. I can't answer with absolute perfect certainty, but I feel as though I may be hot on the trail as to what the most prevalent limiting belief is, and the most debilitating limiting belief is. So perhaps we're talking about manifestation and manifesting things coming into being. What if, and I don't know that this is the case, but what if we happen to come into being as a separate self, entirely limited? I have 2 arms, I've clearly defined limitations. I'm a body. I was born in time and I will die in time. I'm a person amongst other people, separate from these other people, separate from the very source of life, the heart of life. That's not who I am, that's beyond who I am. Right? So it's almost like a sentence in a way when you look at it through that lens, to think that, and so what if we are that which is not limited, that which is beyond belief, and because we believe ourselves to be limited, because we believe ourselves to be separate, to have our own existence apart from life or anyone or anything else, even that which there is nothing higher than, we see ourselves as having a limited existence apart from that, and that's what we're identified with. That could possibly be the source of tremendous pain, in a word. And so I'll offer this supposition that perhaps I'm not a body. Perhaps I'm not a person. Perhaps I don't belong to time, and that which does belong to time ultimately belongs to who I am, ultimately, because time belongs to who I am, ultimately. Yesterday, I had a wonderful experience. I did my workout, and lately it becomes more and more an adoration of the divine, my workout routine. It's like my yoga or something, but I'm just using weights and whatnot. And so, I spent a lot of time with a wonderful yoga teacher, and her voice ran through my head, reminding me that Shavasana, the corpse pose, lying down flat on the floor like that, is the most important part of that yoga practice. And so I had remembered that, and I laid on my floor for about 10 minutes. And the most wonderful sense of peace came over me. And I felt as if I was unlimited. I could feel as if I was the vast, boundless space that all that ever is, was, and shall be, was contained in. That I am that which is embracing all that is. And then after that, after about 10 minutes, I got up and went over to the track around the corner and went for a run. And when I was running, there was a part of me that could see that I never got up. Whatever was lying on the floor, whatever went around the block and went for a run, there was some aspect of who I am that didn't change the whole time. And so it was a little moment of a shift in identity to that which is beyond form. And so I think that perhaps the ultimate limiting belief is our identification with limitation, which is the body, which is the mind structures, and all of that. So I'll leave that at that. That's what's been floating around that for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Travis. It is one of the biggest limiting belief that we are limited by this form, right? The body, so beautiful. Caesar, did I ask you about the limiting beliefs? Did you want to come up with a mass limiting belief?
Well, you did, and Travis just brought something to mind too, as I was just taking some notes. And once I just mentioned it briefly about the awareness that you in fact have a limited belief, also creates the contrast, which allows the desire to detach yourself from the limited belief. So it's a cleaning up process of obtaining something through the awareness that you have negative, in this case, polarity. A limited belief would suggest, a negative thought, so to speak, or a negative belief in that way. And to have the awareness again with the, changing the word from limited to unlimited in itself, boundaries, as limitations are things that stop light. And in this case, we're talking about the body as a whole. So yeah, the awareness again, but I did touch on it, but I just wanted to add that. Thank you. Very nice job, Travis, too, by the way.
Thank you, Caesar.
Thank you.
I think what Travis said, right? The body, what shows us, or the question, what is the greatest limiting belief? How are we going to know what is the greatest limiting belief? Like Caesar said, when you say contrast, it means we're going to see something that we don't want. Just like Louise was saying, right? We'll be at a job where we don't want to be at that job. So what does that do? It pushes a button within us, telling us that we are limiting ourselves with thinking that we have to take an 8-to-5 job. Maybe we were meant to be a painter. So where is the expansion in being the painter, right? So that's when the contrast arises. That's the contrast, right? Moving us to let me show you some resistance. Let me show you some irritation so that you know that you shouldn't be doing this job, right? That's what the irritation is showing. So always pay attention, like Kelly says, right, to your emotional field. How are you feeling? Are you feeling joy? How you do is the most important thing. Are you in this job? And are you doing things with love and compassion, loving kindness, loving awareness, and compassion? If not, you're contaminating your action, right? Thank you. Eileen, did you want to talk about, I know you'll have something about limiting beliefs. You love the topic.
I do, actually. I've learned a lot from you over the last year, actually, about them. So anything that I would probably mention probably came from you. But I do want to say that I very much enjoyed listening to Travis talk right then. That was very, very beautiful, and it's like put some ideas in my own head to consider. I just, in my experience, I mean, not only do limiting beliefs exist, but I feel like they need to be looked at and recognized, because I feel like once you sit with them, like think about them, sit with them, and then it's like, once you kind of accept them, I guess, trying to think of the right word, then it kind of dissolves. It's almost like another form of resistance, I guess. Because I find that once I figure out what they are, then they don't really matter anymore. But I don't really have much else to add. But I too took a little bit of notes when Travis was talking. I'm right there with you, Caesar.
Thank you, Eileen. Did anybody else have anything to say about Mike's question about being a twin? Kelly does. Go ahead, Kelly. Thank you.
So it's an interesting question. I know myself, I've had friends say that they saw me, you know, in New York City or in Vancouver. And I'm like, I haven't left Manitoba, you know, in like 2 or 3 years. And like, what, really? So you know, the concept of doppelganger, right, is out there. There's also I believe, Travis, you mentioned the whole twin flame concept, and he did a exceptional job of explaining how, even though there is sort of like the twin flame concept, it's really just a reflection of our eternal selves. And, you know, how we all have that part inside of us. We all have that aspect of the universe reflecting back at us our own truth and our own energy. And, you know, it's like the whole thing of like, oh, wow, you know, I found my soulmate and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, well, you know, really anyone who actually causes you to like look inside and, you know, find that heart space, that's someone that's, you know, a soulmate, because they're helping you do soul work. So, you know, the concept of the twin flame, I sort of look at it in the same way. It's just like anyone who matches your vibration where you are right now, who helps bring growth into your life, into your heart, anyone can be a soulmate. Anyone can be a twin flame. There are deeper connections, sure. But again, you know, Travis, as he said, it's that reflection of the eternal looking back at us.
Thank you, Kelly. I think a lot of people from the group meditation find you, Kelly, and Travis very riveting. They always tell me, oh, we had such a good meditation, or we had such a good Qigong class. So they're gravitating towards both of you. So I know they love Louise as well, whenever Louise speaks. So we have a question from Marla. How does one distinguish between a sense of resistance that indicates a limiting belief that needs to be challenged with awareness, and a sense of resistance or irritation, as Poonam says, that indicates the need for a change in situation? How does one sense the resistance? And that is an indicator of the limiting belief that we need to kind of shine the light of awareness on it, right? Louise, did you want to take this up first and then we'll go around? I don't know where Caesar went, so I can't move to him.
I think that anything that doesn't make you feel good is an indicator of, you know, working through it in some way. Either it's a pointer to telling you that something is off, I believe. And I think sometimes we don't see it just because of the amount of chatter that's going on in our heads. But I do think that when we are aligned, we get like a hint, like this isn't right. You know, take a look at this. This doesn't feel good. And so then when you see that, first get that, then you sit with that, and it either disappears or a solution or an idea of what you should do next comes up. That's kind of how I feel it's been for me, you know, over the last 3-4 years. It's things that I thought I didn't think I had a limiting belief about, or I didn't feel resistance about, that later as I've gotten, you know, more aligned, or it just comes to me and I realize that, like, this is something that needs to be changed, or this is something I need to do something about, or I just allow it and it goes away.
Perfect, Louise. I think the more we are in presence, the more deeper we are, the insights arise. It's an intuition. And what I feel is it's something about the inner body. Like Kelly does Qigong, right? The more we inhabit our inner body, it's like a feeling like I see, when Louise was speaking, I could think of people, Dallas has crazy traffic, right? But if you are inhabiting your body, you'll already sense that somebody's coming, whipping down the left lane, and they are about to go across in front of you, that you need to slow down. And that intuition, it's something that the body already knows. And this is beautiful. So I will tell you, in this book, Nature or Personal Reality, I think it's chapter 4 or 5, where he says that each experience has its own sound value and invisible light. So it's invisible sound and invisible light. And in this case, exactly this, if a car is about to hit you, right? Your body already has received that signal. Before the physical body sees it, the energy body already has received the signal. It is that beautiful, right? So like Louise says, the more we are inhabiting a body, in our inner body, the body will tell us, right? This is something, and of course, then the experience of the irritation or the anger, whatever emotional field, all the negative so-called low frequency vibration, right? Discomfort, irritation, unease, sadness, depression, all are showing us that there's something that we need to question. Like Byron Katie says, right? Everything belongs on paper. Each thought belongs on paper, and you question it. So thank you, Louise, for that. Travis, did you want to say something about what Marla asked? It's such a beautiful question, right? It's such a beautiful, thank you, Marla, for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Marla. Well, I think I'll probably just kind of be echoing what Louise said and what you said, Poonam. I think both of you are, the word that came up for me, and then you said it, Poonam, was intuition. And I think you've said it quite well, just in that as we move deeper into presence, deeper into that calm and quiet serenity of being, the better able we are to harness and use our intuition. And then too, when we follow it, it will grow in confidence with it too, because you go, oh, I changed lanes right when that car was coming, or I did this and that. And you notice that there's some part of you that's in touch in a deeper way. And then you start to go, I did it again. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and you start to trust your intuition. And then it can be really fun, because then we can get into grooves with things we don't even know what we're doing until way later on down the road, when it's revealed to us, and we go, wow, look at, I was so surrendered to my intuition that I was able to fall in sync with some magical unfolding that if I was living too much in my mind, I would have inhibited that from blossoming into reality. I would have been too much, well, maybe this, maybe that in my mind about it. So really just what you said, as far as getting deeper into presence and understanding that it's an intuition thing, and that's a wonderful gift and can be a source of tremendous playful enjoyment in life to get into that space. And I think also too, there's when there's a situation that needs to be changed or we need to leave, I feel like oftentimes it will repeatedly come up. If we don't act on it right away, and then maybe the next day you go, there's something there, it's still there again, it's still there again. You go, maybe I need to leave, or maybe I need to do something to change this. And so sometimes just with the repeated encounter day after day, if we don't act impulsively, then sometimes it could just become apparent that the situation needs to change, and you just know. So, yeah.
Thank you, Travis. And I think like you almost want to acknowledge it, right? Like I remember Thanksgiving Day, like that week, I didn't get a chance to work out too much. Then on Thanksgiving Day, I was like, I hope it's a perfect day where I can go for a walk. It ended up being like a 70-degree day. And so, the joy is not so much as I got a chance to walk. It's more like the manifestation followed, right? You just thought that, hey, I want the day to be better. Now, to link it with a limiting belief, if something comes up, I think you have to look at the experience of the present moment, right? To link your intuition with what is going on as far as limiting belief is concerned. As Travis was saying, something will repeatedly show up. If you ignored it, it will repeatedly show up, right, Travis? The same event is going to show up. So that will show you your limiting belief. And that's the awareness. Eckhart has a beautiful talk on the website called Vigilance. That is the vigilance of presence power. Extreme alertness, extremely, like every cell of the body is watching everything that is happening in this present moment, because that's going to show you what is the belief. Thank you for that, Travis. Appreciate it. Caesar, did you want to talk about this beautiful question on limiting belief?
Sure. Just piggyback off what Travis said as far as impulses go. I believe the universe is constantly sending us signs and these impulses. And of course, one needs to be rooted in presence to acknowledge and to become aware of these impulses that are constantly surrounding us. I think when you are aware of the impulses, it's like guidance to allow you to get on the right path. If you know something's wrong, it's like a course correction, so to speak, by paying attention to everything around you. I know, I believe it was Eckhart Tolle that was speaking on how the monks used to be tested on their presence with the master would come up behind them with the bamboo stick and swing, and if they were able to block or duck it, then he knew they were rooted in presence firmly. So I think being rooted in presence is the key, and paying attention to the impulses and the signs that the universe is constantly dishing out to us.
Thank you, Caesar.
Thank you.
What is the biggest guide in the whole thing is our inner being. Our inner being is in connection with source. It's completely connected with source. So the inner being already, like Abraham Hicks says, right? When the expansion started, the inner being is already doing what is the right thing, right? Like if our child is doing something that is irritating to us, right? Inner being is loving the child. in spite of the irritation. Unconditional love, moving us to so the inner being is already giving signals from inside. We just need to listen, right?
I just want to say, the word quantum entanglement comes to mind too through this, the connectedness with all that is. So
thank you. Eileen is smiling. You want to say something about it, Eileen?
I just agree with what Caesar just said. So that was all.
Thank you. Kelly, do you want to say something about Marla's beautiful question?
It is a beautiful question. This is a real key element to understanding our personal reality. And the simple answer is through feeling. And this is where being aligned with our heart space, being aligned with our connection with creation, the divine, God, becomes really, really important. The distinguishing between a sense of resistance, that is something that we develop over time. That takes practice. That is the discipline of refinement, of awareness. The understanding of, and again, it's just like the resistance, once you get used to that feeling of resistance, you will be able to begin to identify its connection to anything it's connected to. And when we begin to go inside and find these spaces that we are resisting looking at, that we are attached to, those are limiting belief structures. This is the same thing as karma. How we limit our awareness, how we limit our ability to interact with reality defines our resistance, defines our limiting belief structures. And this is also what tells us how to interact with the outside world, or as the question states, the need to change in a situation, need for a change in a situation. Understanding what we are dealing with inside in our hearts, what we are feeling, what we are discerning when we understand our connection and our attachment to limited belief structures will show us what needs to change and why. And once you understand that level of discernment and how when we stop ourselves, when we stop our minds and we still our minds, and in Qigong, this is where we work with the E, or the power of intention and focus. And we still our mind through disciplining our connection of the mind-body connection, doing Qigong. Especially the standing state where we hold a posture for 10, 15, 20, 40, 80 breaths, depending on how you want to go. It's about feeling. It's all about feeling. It's that discernment of that inner space, put on what you refer to as inner beingness. Louise, you said alignment. Travis, again, it's vibration and frequency, man. It's all music. It's all music, and having a connection with our body makes it a lot easier. Whether or not it's yoga, weights, swimming, walking, martial arts or Qigong or whatever. When you have a physical connection with your present reality, it makes it a lot easier to understand and discern those differences.
Thank you, Kelly. It's like the mother who sees her son walking under the ladder with a scissor already is holding the ladder and holds his hand, right? Without even knowing why she already can envision that he's going to do something and the ladder is going to fall on him and he's going to do something with the scissor, right? So it's intuition in that manner that it's going to show up. And
Poonam, your example of driving is perfect. It's one of the things that I have experienced. When I worked as a personal carrier for my best friend who gets around in a scooter, having to get downtown at like 6:30 a.m. in rush hour traffic I really, really refined my ability to feel when people were about to do something not so smart in front of me. So excellent example.
Thank you. Yeah, Dallas has very crazy traffic. Like somebody in the rightmost lane will be traveling like at 40 miles per hour. This person will be coming at 100 miles per hour. So you're just like in the middle of maelstrom. But keep those antennas up, right? Antenna of the inner being up. There was a question from Summer. What do you think of doctors who choose to determine which sex to place on a child who was biologically born with both male and female body parts? I don't know who wants to take that question up. Louise, did you want to? You want to do it, Travis? Go ahead. You can start. We'll go around. Go ahead. Start.
Okay. I just didn't see anyone else, so I thought I'll have a shot at it. But because it's not as though I have some prepared answer. But to me, I think that probably the majority of us, of humans to date, we are so what's the word, you know, kind of bound up in the material frequency, right? The material dimension of things that we're looking, which is more surface and not so subtle, that we see whatever the physical makeup of the body and what the gender is there, and how one would determine with a baby too, which gender, which side of that line to put them on if they're born with both. I don't know, because how I see there being male and female energetic polarities. They're energetic polarities, and we all move between those two polarities, and it's most common to have those who are born with male genitalia. It's more common that they are more of a male yang, closer to that polarity, and they have to learn the female part a little bit more to get a little bit more centered. Whereas those born with female physical genitalia are more often, more of them are on that, toward that yin polarity. And so, but both are the most poetic complement to the other. And it's not so cut and dried. That doesn't sound like the right term to use in this case, but it's not always so clear as we would like for it to be. I think as humans, we like to oversimplify things in our minds and make them more simple and feel like we understand. And so so for me, it's important to differentiate the physical aspect of sex from the energetic aspect of who we are, and then to honor each individual's space in how they navigate between those two polarities, those two energetic poles, and not have so many restrictions and constricting rules that we impose on others around it, but to allow one another to be. That's important. And I think that probably the reason doctors would choose to do this or do that a lot of times might come from, in relation to our last topic we were all sharing around in this circle there, that there might not be that degree of presence and intuitive awareness of being in touch. So So that would probably be at least one of the reasons why a doctor might make that choice this way or that way. Oftentimes might come from being not so in touch. But I really don't know. It's something that I haven't encountered that I know of firsthand. So I'm really speculating here. So, but I'll leave it at that for my response.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks.
What came to mind is back to what is the mass consciousness or the floating crosswind about it, right? So for, I don't know how many ever years, humanity has gotten so identified with, if you have a female body, you're a woman. And if you're a male body, you're a man. And you have to exhibit the traits of a man. And you have to exhibit the traits of a woman. Look at, this is, Marla, this is the limiting belief, right? Look at what is happening in the world in this present moment. The people that are gay, they're in a man's body, but they may have effeminate kind of ways of being. There are women that are lesbian. Then there are people that are transgender. What is that teaching humanity at this present moment? What is the spiritual lesson behind it? Lose your identification with your sex, with your gender. That's all planet. The only lesson, spiritual lesson, is that. But look at how much of humanity is, I would say 50 to 55% of humanity is for it's okay, acceptance, and 45% is still stuck in their limiting belief that they want, if you have a female body, you are going to wear female clothes. You're going to act very feminine, right? So who's to say that this person needs to be male or this person needs to be female? Like Travis says, you'll make the body male, but what if the energetic pattern in that body is feminine? They're dominated by the yin energy, right? So it doesn't matter what their physical form is. So this is beautiful, like it's tying in. Caesar, did you want to talk about the CRISPR technology of modifying DNA?
Well, I mean, as far as that whole polarity thing goes, as far as the doctor making the choice on which way to go with something like that, I think the conscious decision would be just to leave it alone, if that was an opportunity, and let it play out how it does. It is what it is, and there's no sense to interfere with that. That is, for the most part, and that's basically it. It is what it is, unless there's a need to change something genetically, either way, then I think it would be a wise decision from the doctor's standpoint or anybody else's standpoint just to leave it as it is. I don't think there is a doctor's part to make that decision, opposed to being like a transgender or something of that nature, where somebody made a conscious decision to alter themselves in that way. That's a whole different ball game there. So the short answer would be leave it as it is, if at all possible, and then let the polarities and the whole energy thing take place as it does throughout the course of the life.
Let that person be born, become an adult, and make a decision. What do they want to be? And
truth be told, if nobody ever told that person the difference between he or she might never know, it's going to be that, the paradigm thing again, what he has taught about, any given situation of male and female. And if we was living in the caveman days where people didn't speak, and that person walked among males and females, and nobody could communicate with each other or seen each other's genitals, he would not know the difference, that he's not just like everybody else.
And it would probably happen to a parent that held the limiting belief that this female body is female and this male body is male. And now you have actually a baby that is not neither male nor female, right?
Yeah.
So, Marla, that's another way of knowing your limiting belief is reality will question your, knock it down, right? Like Eckhart says, it tries to knock the ego shell. And all these are egoic patterns. These are the karmic patterns in us. Thank you, Caesar, for that. Louise, did you want to say something about Summer's question?
No, actually, I was going to say pretty much what Caesar said, that I wouldn't, put too much value on what the doctor says, and I would just let it be as it is, and whatever happens, happens.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen, did you want to say something about Summer's question?
No, I don't think so. Probably would say the same thing that Caesar and Louise just said.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Eileen. Kelly, did you want to say something about Summer's question?
Sure. I'll just add a little bit. Everyone has spoken to this quite eloquently. I agree that this is something that should not be a decision when you have an infant. It should be a decision of the individual themselves when they are of age and when they are, entering their adult life, to make the decision for themselves. And this is a decision that should not be taken away from any individual, any being. Of course, this is a concept of limiting belief of the patriarchal global consciousness. We're sort of, trying to, tie it all together there, where we're all going with this. I feel quite strongly about this, people being, having the choice taken away from themselves. Again, at a soul level, it's, an observation to wonder about their choice of life lesson, their choice of spiritual evolution that they have chosen for themselves this time around. But again, this is also that limiting belief of externalizing our identity based on appearance, and the limited concept of identity based on sexual genitalia. Everyone has yin and yang inside of them. Everyone has male and female energies inside of them. This is one of the great things about the evolution of society and the opening up of minds about sexuality and identity, is that we are on that cusp of understanding how fluid energy really is, how fluid spiritual identity is at a soul level, at a heart level. Who we are will always be completely different than, this external mask of, my three-dimensional body. Who we are in our hearts is completely different than what anyone's mind or mental perception will be able to understand. And, I have a lot of friends in the LGBT community. I've grown up with a lot of wonderful individuals who, have come out and who've expressed their identity to me. And I've, amazing conversations about learning how they actually came to that space as an adult. And these are the kind of conversations that we need to be having to understand that there's a place for this kind of openness, and how loving kindness has got nothing to do with sexual identity, and that love is all encompassing and all inclusive. And that, if anything, this has to be the ethos that we move forward with.
Good. Beautiful. I think we should wrap it up on that loving kindness, unconditional love. And what Kelly said is accurate in the sense that if that baby was born with his soul contract was to be born that way and needed to live that life so that it would have its karmic energy, right? Like karmic account all completed. Yep. So if you modify it, then you're not allowing that person to live out their karmic energy. So perfect. Y'all are like hit it out of the park. Incredibly amazing. Thank you so much to everyone out there that asked questions, helped out, had comments. I know Eileen is about to get ready to go to bed, right? So an honor and a privilege, complete joy. I loved the conversation today. It was beautiful, a lot of inspiration, awe-inspiring insights and wisdom. So I'm deeply humbled, absolutely grateful, and many blessings to all. Have a fantastic week. We meet during group meditation on Friday, right? Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.